goes, someone called me up on the phone. You have to look out for Mrs. Jones. I said, what? And it was another repair shop, of which I will leave unnamed. And I said, why would I look out for Mrs. Jones? Because number one, she comes in and says things are wrong with her car and they're not really wrong with her car, and she wants to sue you for the money, and many different scenarios they brought up to me. And I said, really? Well, 2 days later, in pulls Mrs. Jones. So I asked her, I said, what has been your experience here in the Richmond district in reference to finding a shop? She said, you know, my car does things, but when I take it to the shop, it never does what it's supposed to do. It never malfunctions when I get it to them, so they think I'm crazy, and then something else happens, and there's just problems. So I said to myself, interesting. So I said, okay, let me go for a ride with you. We went for a ride, and it made the noise. So I called, we actually fixed the noise. It was a wheel bearing. I called up the shop that had called me, and I said, there's nothing wrong with Mrs. Jones. Who worked on this car or tried to diagnose this problem? And the owner said such and such, and I said, may I speak to him? Well, I find out, number one, he talked to her, he never went with her to drive the car. He had no clue what the heck noise she was talking about. You can't know unless you have you in the car as the owner, and you drive with you. That's the only way you're going to know, because cars make too many different noises. And the noise level of a person is really different. And she's been a customer ever since.
I learned to become a human sponge in this business. My mentor told me to get this is not to be trained. You've got to sit, listen, and absorb what I say in every word. If you can absorb what I'm saying, and then you can get it. I would observe the mechanics take things apart. They would make me put it back together. So there were transmissions I would watch them take apart, and I had to physically put them back in the components correctly. I never had to pick up the heavy stuff. I was just able to put the components back together, put things back in, lock and load, put it in, and it had to shift, it had to move. I did brakes, I did oil changes, I did everything that they had to do. But I had to do it in an order. But I had to watch them do it to get it. Also a sailor. So a lot of my marine things cross over as far as my husband and I. He's actually got little inventions we bring from our marina or from our marine into the car world to take fluids out. It's an evacuator. We have other things that if car gets wet inside, you get mildew. We bring a thing in and we set it in the car, plug it in, and it takes the mold out of it. It's just part of the marine business. It works. So I've crossed over a lot with both. I've also had to become a marine mechanic with my own boat. So yeah, it's difficult. More and more computers, more and more, is a lot more technology that has to be used.
And the sad thing is, oh gosh, now the industry could take women, much more so because it's computerized. You don't need to have brawn. You need to have a brain. You need to have common sense. And I got news for you. There's a lot of people who don't have that. They can read a book.
You know, so we're having this fabulous conversation. And then the dreaded question, what do you do? And I say, well, you know, I'm an auto mechanic. I own my own business. And she looks at me and she says, oh, you must be very smart. And I said to her, no one has ever said that to me. You know, it was stunning.